I don't believe that we should ever have a good money again before we take the thing out of the hands of government.
Welcome back, everyone. We're Simply Bitcoin. We break down the news, the daily fail, meme review, software releases, hardware releases, and the websites by plebs. Joining us today, fellow Bitcoiner, Toxie Cat. Right now, though, we're diving into the numbers. Let's do it.
Namata! Brought to you by Bitcoin 2022. It's going to be the largest Bitcoin event, celebration, conference ever. Get your tickets quickly before the prices go up. The event is less than a month. Get your tickets now. You're going to pay more later. And the speaker list includes Nayib Bukele, Michael Saylor, Adam Back, Jack Mallers, Dr. Jordan Peterson, Senator Lummis. Is going to be absolutely bonkers. You're not going to want to miss it. And you can take advantage of the link down below for 10% off your tickets to Bitcoin 2022.
At the time of this recording, the block height is 727,340. The Bitcoin price, 38,645. Chain rewrite days, 765. Total public lightning capacity. Got a new all-time high going on, 3,520.26. Moscow time, 2588. Blocks to the halvening, 112,660. And Samurai Whirlpool unspent capacity, 4,427.98 BTC. That is a collaborative spend or CoinJoin service. Guys, these services are coming under attack. Anyways, Nico, the numbers.
Dude, and I know Phil's going to cover that, and he's going to kill it during the Phil segment. But yeah, this is, like we've been saying, guys, this is getting serious. Okay, this is getting real. You know, as Bitcoin clashes with governments, right? Because governments get the majority of their power from being able to issue their own currency, which, you know, impoverishes their citizens, enriches them, props them up in the process. And we're kind of living through this chaotic moment in history where we're witnessing an alternative money, right? And hopefully what Bitcoiners hope for is to separate money from state completely. But if you know anything like the separation of church and state, that shit was a bloody affair. You know, fortunately for us, this is meme warfare. You know, it's narrative trench warfare. Hopefully no heads get chopped off. That would suck. But anyways, I got some interesting data to point out. Check this out. We're going to look at some Glassnode Hopium, everybody. I know that Phil loves this. He sniffs this every morning for his daily dose of hopium. No, but anyways, I got some interesting little stats, right? So the exchange balances, I think this is really interesting. This keeps going down. Again, all the, you know, block analysis guys were completely wrong last year. So I'm not going to try to spin this in any way. But what I can tell you, because I think this is a verifiable fact, right, is that since March 12, 2020, right, was when really it was the beginning, Phil. It was the end of 2020 was really the beginning of the run-up, the beginning of, you know, the recovery of Bitcoin. And you kind of see the crossover a little bit. Like, look, this is what I'm talking about. The gray line is the price, right? And with that, right, you had the amount of Bitcoin on exchanges go down. Now, that could be a coincidence, but that also could be that more and more people are taking self-custody of their Bitcoin. That, in fact, that is what it is, and more people are hodling. I think that's a good thing. I think the less Bitcoin on exchanges, the better. And if this trajectory keeps staying the same, that number's on the way up, well, on the way down, where versus most of Bitcoin's history, the amount of Bitcoin on exchanges just kept going up and up and up and up and up. Look, it reached an all-time high of 3 million Bitcoin on exchanges. And I'm glad now it's at 2,500,000. Hopefully that number keeps going down. But before I get your guys' thoughts, one more thing. The amount of Bitcoin that hodlers are accumulating continues to rise. These are number of addresses with a balance of 0.01 Bitcoin, right? Also, just keeps mooning, right? This is 0.1 Bitcoin. also just keeps on an upward trajectory. This is balances with 1 Bitcoin address. Also, it kind of plateaued a little bit, really, since 2020. Balances with 10 Bitcoin or more also plateaued, right? Balances with 100 Bitcoin or more, right? It's also kind of on a downward trajectory, right? And then these are many accounts with 1,000 Bitcoin or more are considered whales, right? And look, they did have a huge, this is interesting, Phil.
Yeah.
Right? A little pump here. So anyways, guys, look, we're not going to try to spin it like a lot of and a lot of them are my friends, so I'm not going to name any of them or, you know, try to trash on what they do. I think everyone, you know, finds a way to provide value to Bitcoins, provide value to the space. I'm just not a fan on speculating using block data because it doesn't look like it's very effective to make good calls or that. But that's my opinion. But anyways, look, something that you can confirm without a doubt is that more and more people are taking self-custody. If we want this revolution to succeed, you need as much people as possible that are using Bitcoin to take self-custody. And another thing that you could actually confirm without a shadow of a doubt is that there's more and more people joining Bitcoin, or the amount of addresses with 0.01 or 0.1, that would stay the same, but there's more and more people joining Bitcoin. I think that's some bullish fundamentals. That's all I'm going to say in terms of speculation, but to me, at least, those are some very bullish numbers, especially people taking self-custody. That's the thing I'm most happiest about. Phil?
I'm going to speculate. I'm going to speculate. Yeah, here we go. You got to do it, right? I'm going to speculate that Bitcoin is going to continue to piss off the state. All right? And I'm going to speculate that more people are going to find the value in holding Bitcoin and taking self-custody. That's my speculation.
That's a good speculation. Good observation. Anyways, I'm going to pass it to CC. What are your thoughts on this, bro? As a pleb, as a toxic pleb who's not even on Twitter, what are your thoughts on this? I think you're muted, by the way. Yeah.
Well, speaking of hot takes, Corey out the other day that there's this illusion of illiquid supply. Is it really illiquid? I mean, yes, it's flowing from exchanges to wallets, but how long does it take you to flip that supply back towards exchanges? It doesn't take that long. It takes 15, 20 seconds. Hard wallet in your PC or whatever and switch that Bitcoin back onto exchanges. So, I mean, really, if price movement has something that plebs want to sell, I mean, really, how long does it take to switch it back? So, I mean, really, the on-change data for, you know, how many people are holding is good to an extent, but I mean, does that really necessarily mean price increasement? Not necessarily.
That's what I'm trying to say, dude. Like, you can't speculate from these numbers whatsoever. I know that it became a movement on Twitter. I'm sure a lot of that data is useful, but what I'm trying to say is that, listen, guys, everyone, I would say 90% of Bitcoin Twitter got 2021 horrifically wrong when it comes to price speculation. We were one of the only channels that were right. Why? Because we completely avoided channel speculation altogether. So we just like to stay away from that, even though it provides hopium, like we like to call it in the space, or confidence, and especially in moments of volatility where the roller coaster's on the way down, right? I think that a lot of those hopium channels provide hope, right? But we like to stay away from that. We like to stick to the signal, but there is a lot of signal there, which is more people are taking self-custody, and Bitcoin, the network, is growing. There's more users that are going in. You could actually see that from the data, right? Now, what does that mean on price? Who the fuck knows? I don't think anybody knows, to be honest with you. Which is what we advocate on the show. Just you know, low time preference, long time preference. Just DCA, buy a little bit of Bitcoin every day, forget about it. You know, join the peaceful revolution, take self-custody, and enjoy the roller coaster ride. And in a couple years, you'll be happy you did. But anyways, Phil, it's time for
the Daily Fail. Brought to you by Amber App. Check them out, a Bitcoin stacking app by actual Bitcoiners. Low fees, fair spreads, smart automation. The link is down below.
Amber, the smart way to stack sats.
All right. So, I don't know who this person is, but to me, they just disappeared into their own ass in a single tweet.
I mean, bro, product of big government, US, all the academia.
Is this real? Like, is this
CNN Plus? Oh my God!
Like, do you see what I'm saying? Like, and 445,000 followers. Like, is this a real account or is this just a bot of the state?
Yeah, anyways, dude, that's what it looks like to me.
Like, I swear. And look at this. I'm doubling down on the most innovative payment technology and store of value, USD. So of course, you know, I'm a pain in the ass, and I had to respond along with many other Bitcoiners, and I responded with this. Is that so? And here we go. It's the purchasing power of the consumer dollar in the US, and we can clearly see what that chart is doing. This was just like, I mean, okay, look, before we dive into the main part of the fail, is this just not the weirdest thing to see an account like that?
Dude,
like, doesn't that just seem like such a ridiculous paid shill? I swear, it's a state-sponsored bot. He's not a human being.
I just, you know, big government, creation of big government, CNN, the blue check mark, like the suspiciously high follower count. Where did that come from? Like, it's like, dude, like, it's like, man. But honestly, Phil, with all the clown worldery that we've experienced the last 2 years, I would not be surprised, right? But again, and of course, if this person is real, he's obviously talking from a place of financial privilege, okay? Clearly lives in the US, right? That essentially outsources its debt when the US prints money, right? It makes the rest of the world poor. Of course, it makes American citizens poor, but it really makes the rest of the world poor that are holding dollars, right? So yeah, man, this person is talking from a place of financial privilege. It's fucked up, and yeah, this is why blue check marks. I mean, Twitter does a good job by letting us know with the blue check marks. But, anyways, CC, what are your thoughts on this?
That's the biggest NPC with all the necessary installed firmware in order for the US dollar.
Yeah, no, literally, I could not have said it better myself. Yeah. That is the NPC. The NPC that you see in memes. That's him. That's the actual person. Anyways, Phil, what's the next fail?
All right, here we go, guys. It's about to get upsetting, right? But look, we were tagged multiple times to cover this, and you knew that we had to, right? We had no choice. No choice but to cover this. What am I talking about? Talking about the very strange, I find kind of like elusive tweet from Wasabi Wallet yesterday. And here we go. The ZK Snacks Coordinator, okay, which is the centralized service that facilitates the CoinJoin service that Wasabi Wallet offers. Anyways, the ZK Snacks Coordinator will start refusing certain UTXOs from registering to CoinJoins. Now, look, we're not going to get into a big, long technical conversation about how Bitcoin transactions and UTXOs work, but let's just try to make it simple. Transactions contain individual UTXOs. Okay, so there is a difference. Okay, so I just wanted to make that differentiation before we dive into this. Now, members from the Wasabi team. I mean, look, we'll go through the thread. Look, here's a response from Eve. This is not how you deal with such problems. You know, this is from Caro. Caro actually, I remember he did work with Wasabi Wallet, so this is interesting, right? This is what authoritarianism looks like. And we have a response from Rafe also. Rafe, I don't know if he works for Wasabi Wallet, but I know that he is a Wasabi Wallet enthusiast. And if people who do know, let us know in the show notes. But anyways, look, from this tweet, it kind of sounds like he works with them. He goes, no, he goes, we're trying to protect the company and the project by minimizing the amount of these hackers and scammers using the coordinator and getting us in trouble. This should be in the rights of the company to do, but believe me, none of us are happy about this.
It's a slippery slope.
It's a very slippery slope, okay? And this isn't the only piece, right? We're going to dive into a thread that Matt Odell put together, which really sums things up well and kind of removes some of the confusion. So DJ Booth responded, a fellow Bitcoiner, and goes, the authorities have infiltrated Wasabi through threat of punishment. So to protect yourself long-term, you need chain analysis and monitoring of ins and outs, essentially spying on your users who use your product for privacy. And Rafe responded, no one has infiltrated Wasabi, since we wouldn't be having this conversation if that were the case. There's no need to spy when banning inputs. Many would be happy to sync with the ship when needed. Is it better to have no ZK Snacks coordinator or to keep it running for majority? So you can see we're starting to get into the murky waters, right? Now let's dive in. Let's dive into the thread from Matt Odell. Just want to give a shout out to Sahil Chaturvedi, who put this together on Threader, made it easier for everyone, especially for people who are shadow banned from seeing Matt's posts. I'm not, but I'm just saying some people are, and this really helped us out, okay? Let's dive into... Yeah, man.
You say that again, dude. To the shadow ban from talking about this stuff. Do you guys understand what is going on? Do you understand? Do you understand the significance of this, right? You don't have a right to privacy. That's what they're saying. And like,
privacy is a crime. And
again, right, it's like, if we don't know exactly what you're doing, you're a terrorist. And we can cut off your bank account without any type of court order or anything, like we saw in Canada. Like, this is total clown world. And they see Bitcoin for what it is, an escape valve. And what they're trying to do is that they're trying to morph it into the old financial system. They need to see everything that you do, or you are a criminal, right? You could just be protecting yourself from persecution in your own country, but no, you're a criminal. I'm sorry, Phil. Go ahead.
No, not at all, dude. Good intro to this. Good intro to this thread. So here we go. 1 of 6. A lot of confusion due to the Wasabi team putting out vague tweets about blacklisting rather than a proper statement, and this poorly written block article below that is being shared widely. CoinJoin is not a mixing service. It is a type of collaborative Bitcoin transaction. And remember, when we do the numbers, what do we say about Samurai Whirlpool, which is a completely different, separate product? Okay, I want to make that distinction. They're two completely different products. We're talking about collaborative spend services. They are both the same type of service. They're both a collaborative spend service. A CoinJoin is a native Bitcoin send transaction that includes multiple users in a non-custodial transaction that attempts to break the probability analysis chain surveillance firms use. There are multiple software implementations that can construct CoinJoin transactions. Wasabi is one of these software implementations. It relies on a centralized coordinator that builds transactions and is accessed via Tor. Coordinator cannot link inputs with outputs without an active attack, but can prevent inputs from participating in rounds. And when he's referring to inputs, he's talking about the individual UTXOs that make up a transaction. Wasabi defaults to a coordinator that is run by a company called ZK Snacks. And this is exactly how the government was able to, we can say it any way we want. This is exactly how they were able to infiltrate. There is a central point of attack. There is a central point of failure. That this is the way it works, and they can attack it. Anyways, this coordinator is now blacklisting certain UTXOs from participating in CoinJoin rounds. Anyone can run a competing coordinator that does not do this blacklisting, and users can switch to it. Samurai Whirlpool and Chaincase also use centralized coordinator model. Their coordinators are not blacklisting UTXOs. There are CoinJoin tools that do not use centralized coordinators, including Samurai Stonewall, Stowaway, and Join Market. And for just to add a piece of information for the people that are interested in Join Market, it comes pre-installed with the Raspi Blitz and the MyNode. Centralized coordinator models do not have Sybil resistance against the coordinator themselves. This means if they choose to actively flood rounds with Bitcoin, they can potentially link inputs and outputs. Now, today, we saw a response from, this is kind of interesting, right? The other account was Wasabi Wallet. Let's go back over here. Let's take a look at this. Was Wasabi Wallet. And then here, look at what we have. We have Wasabi BTC. CoinJoin for everyone. No UTXO fact checkers. No UTXO blacklisting. No censorship. 100% reproducible code. Don't trust, verify. So this is kind of interesting, right? This is Wasabi's response to essentially being taken over or infiltrated. so to speak. Wasabi BTC was founded on March 14th, 2022, after the Wasabi codebase was compromised by corporate lawyers working for nation states to censor UTXOs allowed to participate in coin joins, thus making at Wasabi Wallet a censor tool and an enemy of Bitcoin. Wasabi intends to hard fork Wasabi Wallet and provide a new anonym coordinator run by NIMS. Wasabi BTC will remove all corporate state censorship and make CoinJoin possible for anyone. Decentralized CoinJoin, fully open source, and no attack vector for nation states. Very interesting turn of events. When I first heard this yesterday, I was immediately kind of like, when things like this happen, it kind of teaches you about, if you didn't do enough research, as in my case, right? Like I don't use coin joins, but I hadn't done much more research to figure out how they were coin joining. And I didn't realize that there was a centralized entity that was coordinating and that was actually running this part of this part of their privacy tool. So look, you know what? This type of thing that happens is actually a good thing in the grand scheme of things, because it's going to force us and teach us to not use centralized entities. And immediately when I heard this happen, I right away thought of Join Market. And I said, well, at the end of the day, there is always Join Market. So yeah, this is scary stuff. I mean, look, we said, Nico has said it multiple times, we are in the then they fight you stage. We are absolutely in that stage. I'm
extremely disappointed. That's honestly how I feel about this. This is no way right in any type of scenario, because you have to understand that this is how it starts, right? It's like, oh, it's just this. And then it's like, oh, no, it's the Russian people because of Putin. Oh, no, it's the Afghani people. Or no, it's people in Cuba because of this, right? So this is just the foot in the door. It must be defended to the point that everyone has the right to transact freely with one another. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise, because the system that they have excludes half of the population on the planet. It's a system of exclusion. It's a racist system. It's a system that cares what country you were born in. It cares about that. You happen to be born in that country, you don't have a right to transact. Even though you might have no responsibility, no connection to your government, you are still punished for it. And when you normalize these types of things, this is what happens. But on another note, this was always going to happen, right? Centralized systems, centralized things are always going to be captured by the state. Earlier, later, it's an inevitability. It's always going to happen. Shapeshift started with a non-KYC thing where you could just swap, and then they KYC'd it. Why? Because they were scared of the state. And I know that Wasabi was used as one of the ways that the Bitfinex attacker tried to clean his coins. I know that he used Wasabi. So I'm sure that in the government, in the process of like, how do we take these guys out? How do we put pressure on these guys? Your tool was used in criminal activity. Then their lawyers go to them and say, hey guys, if you want to exist, if you don't want to get sued, right? Because the U.S. government is making examples out of everyone. They made an example of Arthur Hayes and what's the name of that? The BitMEX exchange guys, right? So again,
it was Arthur Hayes.
It was Arthur Hayes, right?
Yeah.
We saw Coinbase and Binance take a stand and say, hey, listen, we're not going to censor people based on the location. And then a week later, Coinbase was like, oh, we are censoring certain Russian individuals. So it's like you have the nation state, you have governments, you have Western governments that feel they have an entitlement to control money and therefore control people. And then you have the new movement, which is this new parallel system that within the system, none of those rules apply here, right? But what they can do is that they're trying to manipulate the things that they can go after, like any centralized system, any centralized exchange. They can manipulate that. This is why it's so important to take self-custody, because in self-custody, let's say these centralized exchanges, they become so totalitarian, all these mixing services, what happens is what you see in Nigeria, what you see in these countries, a Bitcoin circular economy. People literally just go on WhatsApp groups, on Telegram groups and say, hey, let me exchange my stuff for your stuff. You can't stop a peer-to-peer system. The government is not capable of doing that, but what they can do is try to go after everything in meat space, and this is exactly what's happening. And by the way, guys, this is going to get worse, which is why it's so important to run your own node and to take self-custody of your coins. Anyways, CC, what are your thoughts on this?
So I got two things. The first thing, that's the beauty of Bitcoin, is that it's equal. Everybody is on the same ground. It includes everybody. It's either a 1 or a 0. Either you have the keys to move the coins or you don't. Bitcoin doesn't care about where you live, any of that nonsense that we fight over as stupid humans. The second thing, the nation state going after these kinds of services is actually what they fail to realize in the long run is all it's doing is making Bitcoin stronger, because Bitcoin just open source code. They're just going to copy paste that code and do exactly what Wasabi BTC just did and make it a decentralized entity that's non-custodial. So now they can't stop that now. So even though they tried to stop it, we just, okay, well, we're just going to move. So all they're doing in the long run is just making Bitcoin more battle tested and better at the end of the day. So as much as they're going to try to stomp their feet and throw a fit of, oh, you shouldn't be doing this, you can't do this because I say so, we're going to do it anyway, because if it's a service that we need as Bitcoiners, we're going to find a way to make it happen, period.
Absolutely.
You know what's funny, though? They're so shitty at solving crime that this is what they have to do. Right? Like think about that. Think about that, right? Like these people, like this is their job. This is your only thing. Your only thing is to fucking solve crime. And you're so crappy at it that all you can do is go take a look at everybody on the road and say, oh, there they are.
Don't.
Like, it's just, it's the most, I find it's the dumbest thing in the world. You know, like, don't get me wrong, I understand. It's the name of the game, it's legit, it's the lowest hanging fruit. But to me, it's just like, it's just this sloppy thing of like, hey, let's make it, you know, let's create this censorship layer and let's imprison everyone because we're lazy fucks.
Censorship layer for the plebs and the peasants, because they play by their own rules, bro. They have their shell companies in the Cayman Islands and all that, right? We saw the Panama Papers, right? It's like these people play by different rules than you do, but you're expected to be a happy little NPC and do everything you're told. In Bitcoin, what it does is it levels the playing field. So don't let them try to spin this and tell you that without their systems of control, the planet would burn down. That's not true. Humanity existed long before the Bank Secrecy Act of 1970, and it existed very happily long before the Patriot Act, right? So again, they're centralizing more and more power, but there's no benefit to the average citizen in the process. It just becomes more and more corrupted, the system. So F these people. And I'm disappointed with Wasabi, but I also understand their perspective. They must have been getting hella pressure, which is why they kind of came up with that picture with the candle. I think they knew what the community was going to say to this. So
yeah.
Anyways, guys, use another wallet, right? That's just,
they also forked, you know, to their benefit, you know, to their credit too. They also forked. So
yeah, I guess there's a corporate arm, and then there's like the pleb, the Bitcoin ethos arm. Anyways, we'll stay on top of it, guys. Phil, you did an amazing job covering it. But anyways, it's time for
the Daily Meme Review.
Brought to you by Citadel 21. It's the best Bitcoin cultural zine. It's stories, articles, comics by actual Bitcoiners. Every volume has different artwork by Bitcoiners, and there's only 1,000 physical copies made per volume. This is volume 10. It just released. Get your print of Citadel 21 today. before it runs out.
This one you just have to preface this one, right? Like this isn't a meme. This is an awesome piece of artwork from BitPaint.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
100%.
cool. Sorry, piece of graffiti from BitPaint.
All right, guys. Phil wanted to tell you that this is a meme. I know you're gonna interpret it like a painting or something, but no, it's actually a meme in meat space. It's awesome. It's by our buddy. Our buddy BitPaint. Really, really cool, man. Shout out to you, dude. Love that. I'm kidding. It's a piece of graffiti on the side of a highway. I'm just pushing Phil's buttons. I hope that survives the test of time. Anyways, the next one is.
I see some elements into it.
You want to go back? Yeah. No, it's really cool, man. There's like death and destruction.
You see the meme elements to it?
Yeah, I mean there is, bro. It's like the stairway to heavy.
I mean, look at the top hats. The top hats. That's the elite.
Yeah, that's the elite.
Burned by death.
Yeah, and this is the cash. It's so true, man. BitPaint, you're an artist, bro. You're a chat artist. You're a Bitcoin artist. Anyways, next one is by Let's F Go. They wouldn't start World War III just as an excuse to print even more money to patch a fiat system that's already on life support. Of course they would, right?
I love this template.
Guy, like, look, at the end of the day, guys, look, it's not a conspiracy. The state and large industries benefit from war. Dwight Eisenhower and his last speech that he gave as president, he warned about the military-industrial complex.
We have been compelled to create a permanent armaments industry of vast proportions. In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex.
Why was it? I'm going to leave you guys with this. Why was it that we had a non-establishment president, whether you like Trump or not, whatever, and we didn't have war for 4 years? And then as soon as an establishment politician gets back into power, for some reason America finds itself on the precipice of another war. Why is that? Why is that? Right? Oh, man. And of course, this is all powered by fiat money. Anyways, next one. Who made this for us, Phil?
Darthcoin.
Darthcoin.
Darthcoin. Yeah. So shout out Darth. Accurate. Watching Simply Bitcoin show to see the signal when to trade Bitcoin. Find out that Phil is only slaying shitcoins and Nico's giving scores and memes. It's true. It's true. We're a hodling channel. We're not a trading channel. Anyways, right. Here's that. You should go to Tone Vase. He makes some awesome trading videos if you guys are interested in that. But anyways, this is Lena Shish. And it's she makes some awesome memes, and this is our original. She makes these herself. Print burr the economy, print burr the economy, print burr the economy. It's transitory inflation. It's the greedy corporation. It's Russia's fault. It's so true, and that's the thing, right? In the immediate term, cheap money actually helps. But over time, it becomes terrible, right? It's fake money. Think about that. Bitcoin actually, it costs you. There's a real cost to make that Bitcoin. With dollars, it's literally, I think $100 bill costs like like 12 cents or something. It's some ridiculously low amount. Like, that's not healthy. It breeds corruption. It breeds war. Anyways, I would like a wake up call, please. The Federal Reserve wants to take over all private accounts and manage them through a social credit system. Listen, so Ola Amarova, which is who Biden wanted to appoint as the comptroller of the currency, she was too much of a commie for them to swear her in. But this is exactly what she wanted to do. She didn't mention the social credit system exactly, but she actually wanted the Federal Reserve to take over all private banking. Okay,
that was next. And
how was that? You know, how is that going to end up, right? Anyways, this is RD. This is me. I'm guilty of this myself. RD_BTC meme legend. Me talking about Bitcoin. Anyone that will listen. It's true. I don't have friends anymore because all I do is talk about Bitcoin. There's a lot of truth to that. Anyways, moving on to the scores. I'm going to give it, Phil, you're going to really, really appreciate this score. A leveler.
Oh, nice.
But guess what? It's a leveler on this side. And if you want to turn it horizontal, it's also a leveler. And yeah, you see I got the bubble. level.
That just turned purple?
Because of the green screen.
It did turn purple.
It did turn purple. Okay, crazy.
Anyways, what would you give those scores? What would you give those memes, Phil?
Okay, you know what? We're going to go with something. Shout out to Bitco. We're going to give it a really nice. This is the Cyber Hornet mining sticker.
I have those all over my wall.
Yes,
yeah,
yes, you do.
They're dank stickers. Shout out to Bitco. Anyways, CC, what would you give those memes?
Well, I've got, and if you know, you know.
Oh, nice.
Very cool. Very cool. Anyways, guys, we want to know if
awesome key.
Very cool. It's a key to what?
Like he said, if you know, you know.
If you
Key
know,
blade.
you know.
It's Keyblade.
Keyblade.
You know, you
Key
know.
blade. If you know, you know. Anyways, guys, we want to know if you agree with our scores, you disagree. Comment. Help us defeat the shitcoin channels. It really helps with the YouTube algo. And of course, make sure to subscribe to us on alternative video platforms because we do talk shit about. We're not really talking shit. We're just like
the truth.
We're going against the official narrative, so it might rub people the wrong way. You could check out, you could subscribe to us on rumble.com and our personal favorite, bitcointv.com. That is the apocalyptic Bitcoin content bunker. If all Bitcoin content gets nuked off the face of the internet, you will always be able to find it on bitcointv.com. And of course, join our Telegram group. And you can link us some dank Bitcoin memes to review so we can review them on the meme review. But anyways, Phil, it's time for
the Daily News.
Brought to you by CryptoCloaks.com. They make the best 3D printed Bitcoin merch, like the famous 3D printed grenade art sculpture thing. Opens up, you put your favorite hardware wallet in there. You could also get this in any custom color your heart desires. You want to change the B to pink? You could do that. You want to change the body to purple? You could do that too. Only on CryptoCloaks.com, and you can take advantage of the link down below for 5% off. Okay, so good news. We reported this on yesterday. Literally yesterday's episode, we reported on how sketchy this was, that they added this back at last minute to ban proof of work in the European Union. Not proof of stake, but proof of work, which is what makes Bitcoin uncorruptible. And by banning proof of work, they would essentially ban Bitcoin, right? That would be the way in. Well, because of the ruckus, because of how much attention this got, I think that again, guys, I told you, a lot of you guys tell me in the comments, oh, don't worry, you know, just build it. Bitcoin's not going to get political. We're at a stage right now where it is becoming political. It's going to be such a politically contentious subject in the next 5 years, 10 years. You have no idea. Guys, this is a separation of money and state. What do you expect, right? But this is a small victory, and don't get too excited, and I'll tell you why it's just a small victory. So check this out. Bitcoin's proof of work will no longer be limited in the European Union. Let me rephrase that. The European Union will no longer be limited, will no longer limit itself, which is really how it should be put, right? The EU Econ Committee voted on Monday to remove a section relating to a de facto ban on Bitcoin mining in the continent. An alternative amendment passed, adding Bitcoin mining to the EU Sustainable Finance Taxonomy. I don't know what the F that is, but apparently, you know, because some bureaucrat decided something is either, if a bureaucrat decides it's sustainable now, like it's so stupid. But again, you know, there is truth to that. Bitcoin does, you know, make green energy potentially profitable, right? Whereas in solar and wind are only really existent because of government subsidies. Bitcoin makes that potentially profitable. Again, this is a win for everybody in Europe, whether they see it or not. They're not closing themselves out of the world. You can't ban Bitcoin, right? So, I mean, shout out to, you know, European entrepreneurs or Bitcoin entrepreneurs, because that's really who it affects. So this definitely is a win, right? And yesterday it was looking pretty dark in Europe. But
look at the verbiage there.
What?
I think he was saying look at the verbiage there.
Go back to that article and you can look at the verbiage. They had that Floridian slip of sustainable finance taxonomy. That's exactly how they view us, as tax cattle. Like,
there you
that
go.
is exactly
Wow.
the problem. That is how they fund their paychecks. Look at everything as, what can I do with this thing in order to get money for myself?
Yeah. That's actually really, I'm glad that you caught that. A very, very good observation, brother. All right. So I said it was a small win because, again, and this goes back to, this relates to the Wasabi thing that just happened. Okay. And let me kind of break it down, right? You have two systems. You have two parallel systems. You have the legacy system of control. It's a system of exclusion. It's a system of all this bureaucracy that is really recommended by an unelected task force called the Financial Action Task Force that essentially dictates what rules and regulations should be for certain countries, and then they suspiciously follow those rules without really asking about the results of that stuff. Like, for example, they have all this AML and KYC policy, but we brought the receipts. It only really stops 0.01% of crime. Somehow criminals find a way around that. They either launder the money through the banks. So again, it makes you come to this conclusion that are these systems really systems to stop crime? Or are they really systems of control? That's not just us saying that. You had a KYC expert, right, that dedicated a lot of his life to researching this subject, Dr. Ron Paul. We had him on the show. Did all, academic papers exploring this subject. So again, the bureaucrats saying, oh, proof of work is allowed. And I think that a lot of people get excited about that. But at the end of the day, that's not the real battle here. The real battle is this concept that, for example, Wasabi now is an extension of the state. Now they get to decide what transactions are okay, what are not okay. This whole system needs to go. It's ridiculous, and I'm going to try to make a case for that right now. Anyways, European Parliament proposes expanding travel rule to every single crypto transaction. That's right. A possibly transformative digital asset regulation draft is threatening to shake up the European crypto landscape. On February 9th, two major factions of the European Parliament submitted a policy blueprint that aims to apply existing regulations designed to counter money laundering and terrorism financing to all crypto transactions. We know that the majority of crime is done through cash. We also know that the majority of money laundering is done through the banks themselves, but it's okay because they say that they pay the fines and it's the cost of doing business. Anyways, the current version of the travel rule obliges banks and payment companies to store information that travels between payers and recipients and make it available to authorities for several years. The policy only triggers when a transaction exceeds the threshold of €1,000. Some have pointed out that the regulation blueprint resembles the official advice of the Financial Action Task Force, an intergovernmental organization founded by the G7 group nations to combat money laundering and terrorism, a little bit too closely. Why are unelected bureaucrats making the laws? I don't understand. And again, they would like you to believe that this system is moral. This system is necessary. This is a good system. I'm going to point out why it's an anti-human system. It's a system of exclusion, and it hurts a lot more people than it protects, right? But again, it's not only in the European Union that they're trying to pass this rule where if you transact every $1,000 transaction, you need to report it. They tried passing that in the US with the Build Back Better bill. Anybody that has more than $600 in transactions, you need to report it to the government. And again, look, as much as I am a fan of Senator Cynthia Lummis, right? A new bill aims to provide a tax exclusion for purchases up to $600 using Bitcoin. So again, I'm not gonna, get into, pay your taxes, do your thing. You gotta color within the lines. But at the same time, what worries me about this, Phil, is the normalization. You're normalizing these limits that these politicians come up with. It's like $600, you got to report that. $1,000, you got to report that. Remember, guys, what this system has caused is half the world excluded from the financial system. And I'm going to go through a couple examples, right? So here is Western Union. Essentially, this is their official announcement suspending operations in Russia. The Western Union company stands with the world in condemning the unprovoked and unjustified invasion of Ukraine. For the past weeks, our team has been working to support our Ukrainian customers, including the millions who have been forcibly displaced, in the best ways we can. This includes donations to support humanitarian relief efforts and fee-free money transfers. We have also engaged in extensive dialogue with a wide variety of stakeholders in an earnest effort to arrive at the right decision regarding our services in Russia and Belarus. We have thoroughly evaluated internal and external considerations, including the consequences for our valued teammates, partners, and customers. Ultimately, in the light of the ongoing tragic impact of Russia's prolonged assault on Ukraine, we have arrived at the decision to suspend our operations in Russia and Belarus. Okay, so again, they hide behind the morality, behind, oh, we're doing this to hurt, Russia and whatever. But let's see how many people live in Russia. 144 million people just lost one of the most popular ways to receive money abroad. That's not okay. That's not okay at all. And you know what still works? What doesn't judge? Bitcoin. But it's not only Russia. It's also Cuba, right? You would understand Bitcoin if you were under Cuba's embargo. My name is Erich Garcia Cruz. I am a 35-year-old programmer. I don't have a bank account or PayPal. I don't use MasterCard or Visa or credit card. More than 60 banks and payment platforms have rejected me just because of where he was born. So when you try to normalize what Wasabi is doing, when you try to normalize these random numbers that bureaucrats pull out of their asses, $1,000, $600, this is what you're normalizing. This is the system that you're supporting. Why? Because I was born and I currently live in Cuba, a country that since 1962 has been under an economic embargo imposed by the United States, which prevents American businesses and those structured under U.S. law from doing business in Cuba. You're probably reading these lines in a country that has all kinds of financial solutions to send or receive payments. Banks maybe offer you discounts or better interest rates to attract your money, and you may even enjoy the luxury of opening accounts offered by global financial services such as PayPal or Wise. Cubans do not have that privilege. Fintech companies like Venmo, Wise, Stripe, Revolt instantly block any Cuban startup or person from using them. Making matters worse, Western Union, there it is again, the last service available for Cubans living abroad to send money to their families, suspended US dollar transfers to Cuba in November 2020 after sanctions by then President Donald Trump. Cubans may not have Visa or MasterCard, but they have Pay with Moon, which allows us to fund a prepaid virtual card with Bitcoin. They can't use banks, but found in Bitcoin a public peer-to-peer bank. They are not accepted by Stripe, the ubiquitous internet payment network, but can make transfers in seconds through Bitcoin's Lightning Network. What is the population of Cuba? 11 million people. Put that together. That is roughly 155 million people. But it's not only Cuba. This is also Afghanistan. Pasha Khan arrived at the bank at 5:30 a.m., but it was already too late. Others had been in line for hours. It was the 5th day in a row he tried and failed to withdraw $200, his bank's weekly limit. It will take me 1.5 months to withdraw all the money I need, said Mr. Khan, as he tried to get enough cash to pay for surgery for his 3-month-old nephew. In Afghanistan, where the economy has been imploding since the Taliban takeover in August, paying for basics such as rent, travel, or medical treatment has become an ordeal that could take months. I might add, also Western Union also cut off Afghanistan. With the central bank effectively paralyzed, and who paralyzed the Central Bank of Afghanistan? The United States of America. And shipments of the national currency suspended, banks are short of cash. Withdrawals nationwide are capped at $400 a week. At some banks, limits are even lower. Sanctions have halted most international transactions. The prices of basic goods have been rising. Some 22 million people, around half of the Afghan population, are struggling to feed themselves. With the banking sector on the brink of collapse, the central bank introduced withdrawal limits and other restrictions on capital outflows in September. The Afghan central bank has appealed to the U.S. government to release the $7 billion in foreign assets held on U.S. soil to address the liquidity the crisis, the U.S. says it's considering using some of those funds to help alleviate the cash crunch. The U.S. is considering. They're considering it, Phil. Look at that. They're considering it. What is the population of Afghanistan? Almost 40 million people. So, roughly 200 million people are hurt by this same system that they're trying to push down our throats with this $1,000, $600. Oh, proof of work is okay. Oh, we're just going to allow certain UTXOs on Wasabi. That is that system. When someone is talking about that, that's what they're advocating for. A racist system, a system of exclusion, a system that cares where you happen to be born in. That's not something that you choose. You just were born in Cuba. You were just born in Afghanistan. So this is why it's not okay to even just normalize what the fuck they're proposing. Because it hurts hundreds of millions, if not billions of people all around the world. It might have moral or good intentions, but I'm not looking at that. I'm looking at the results of their system, of what has happened due to the advice of the Financial Action Task Force. Do you think it's okay for hundreds of millions of people to starve because of where they were born? Do you think it's okay to not be able to receive money from abroad because of where you were born? Are you really advocating for that? Because if you advocate for what Wasabi did, if you advocate for the $1,000 rule, if you advocate for the $600 whatever, that is what you're advocating for. That shit. Phil.
Man, great job, by the way. Look, sanctions destroy much more than just your enemies, okay? You clearly illustrated that. And that last article, right? We are holding Afghanistan's money hostage. Like we are essentially holding their people hostage. The people who actually there's a good possibility that there's a group of people there that have absolutely nothing to do with any of these sanctions. A large majority of the people there have nothing to do. But yet they're all being punished. And it's exactly what you said. It's a system of exclusion. Okay, it's a system of persecution. It's a system of coercion under the guise of inclusivity, under the guise of acceptance, under the guise of we're here to help.
Yep.
Okay, make no mistake, this is not help at all.
It's not.
And that's yeah.
It's not, and dude, we've done the research. We've had experts on this subject. We've gone through it. You cannot come to another conclusion. What is this but a system of control, guised under this is here to protect you? This is the issue, dude, is that you might be living in the way, like that blue check mark that you went through in the beginning. It's a great example. He's like, I support USD. When you say you're supporting USD, that is what you're supporting. Those stories in Cuba, that story in Afghanistan, that story in Russia, that is what you're supporting. When you say, I support USD, that is what you're supporting. You're supporting hunger, you're supporting famine, you're supporting war. And you're supporting an elite group of bureaucrats in D.C. to get to dictate who should use money and who should not use money. And these same psychopaths want central bank digital currencies. Ha 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 ha! Fuck that. I choose Bitcoin. CC, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, I was just looking at, they said that they consulted their stakeholders at Western Union on who, what they should do. And I looked it up, and number 2 and number 1, BlackRock and Vanguard are the main two. That's the, of course. Like you said, Bitcoin is such better money. Why do we have these small circles of elite assholes that are telling us what we can and cannot do and who can and cannot participate when we can just exit and opt out and just buy Bitcoin and participate in an economy that doesn't do those types of things? And if you see all the censorship that's coming out on Bitcoin, that in Canada, when they didn't censor Bitcoin, they censored off and on and off ramps from Bitcoin. And it's just like, I don't understand how people can work every single day and just not see how this is such a better way of eliminating the human element out of money. Because as soon as we eliminate that portion of money, things would get so much better.
Yep.
Because as you can see, as Satoshi Nakamoto said, this history has been shown of breaches of trust of money because of the human element. And that is literally the best part about Bitcoin, is that there's no human element that's going to change and say who can and cannot participate. Like I said, it's just code. It's just ones and zeros. Either you got the keys or you don't. And that's the best part of that's going to make things so much better for the entire planet.
Absolutely. Wow.
Totally agreed.
Fucking beautifully put, bro. Yeah, dude. Look, as soon as human beings start to mess around with the monetary policy about who controls money, who doesn't control money, the system gets corrupted. And it even could start with the best intentions. Guys, we have seen this play out throughout history so many times. We saw this happen in the Roman Republic to the Roman Empire. What do? They debased the fucking money. In the beginning, it started with like a very high percentage. Towards the end of the Roman Empire, it was at a very low percentage. They debased the money. Same thing happened in the U.S. It was backed by gold. Then in 1971, to fund the war in Vietnam, they basically defaulted. Really, that's what it was. Then it wasn't backed by gold anymore. Then we've had fiat money that they say, hey, listen, we're going to be responsible. Have you seen the M2 chart recently? Like, man, it's like, again, it's not that these people are bad. It's that if you're given a power, this very powerful power, dude, it takes a lot of, think about it. You're going to have to resist that with all your being, not to follow your own incentives. Whereas in Bitcoin, by following your own incentives, you're actually helping everybody else because you're strengthening the network. Fiat has broken incentives. Bitcoin has some awesome incentives. That being said, Phil, there was an open source software release today. Why don't you tell everybody about it?
Software releases. Brought to you by CipherSafe. Check them out. CipherSafe.io. It's the best, safest place to store your Bitcoin seed. Store it in the Cypher Wheel or the all-new Cypher Grid. Both come complete with tamper-resistant wire, and the grid comes with a punch tool. We've got Sparrow Wallet version 1.6.0 that was released. It's down below in the show notes. Guys, don't forget to check us out on our audio-only platforms, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor.
Awesome. Thank you, Phil. All right, guys, that was our show. Before we go, I want to give a very special shout-out to our awesome thread sponsor, rephard.com. Represent. Phil and I are wearing the decentralized corpse. Phil's wearing the black one. I'm wearing the green one. Making really cool shit, and he's coming out with Bitcoin merch very, very, very soon. And you can take advantage of the link down below for 15% off anything on the store, rephard.com. I also want to give a very special shout out to our awesome guest. His name is CC. He's going to give me an awesome picture of himself. Definitely, you can find him around on the Simply Bitcoin chat anywhere. Toxicat, there we go. Toxicat, thank you. I fucked up, that's what I do. But anyways, guys, if you enjoyed the show, you know what to do. Smash that like button. Oh, I hit the microphone. And of course, I want to continue hearing the catastrophic fails from nation states, and I'll say that. And the Bitcoin news from the pleb perspective, definitely consider subscribing to Simply Bitcoin, and we'll see you tomorrow, guys, for any episode.
You can't trust the nation states. They've broken the trust.